Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun was slowly setting over the small town of Brookside, casting long shadows across the worn sidewalks and faded house facades. In this working-class neighborhood, at the intersection of simple life and invisible tensions, Rose Jenkins moved cautiously. Her steps were measured, almost ritualistic, as if each step bore the weight of the years past. Rose was 72 years old, a black woman with weathered skin, carefully braided gray hair, and eyes that shone with wisdom born of decades of hardship. She was known in her neighborhood not only for her commitment to young people, but also for her gentleness and quiet courage. Rose had lived through segregation, faced everyday racism, and survived the storms of a life that wasn't always gentle. Yet she had never lost her dignity or her smile. That evening, she was returning from the market with her bags full of fresh vegetables, walking slowly towards her house, located nearby. The air was filled with a light breeze, mingled with the familiar sounds of children still playing in the streets, the distant laughter and conversations of neighbors returning from work. But beneath this apparent tranquility, danger lurked. Mark Daniels, a police officer in this small town, carried within him a poison far older than Brookside. Angry, suspicious, and consumed by prejudices he had learned or cultivated, he saw every black face as a potential threat. When his eyes met Rose's that evening, a dull anger ignited within him. It was the beginning of a cruel spiral that would turn the old woman's life upside down, but also reveal an unexpected force, the intervention of a man no one expected to see there, a champion with iron fists and a heart of gold, Mike Tyson. Rose Jenkins walked slowly along the cracked sidewalk of Fifth Avenue, her shopping bags clutched to her. Each step echoed in the stillness of the falling evening, as the first stars tentatively appeared in the purple sky. She felt the weight of years in her legs, but also the pride of having been able, once again, to prepare a meal for her grandchildren. Rose had always been a pillar of her neighborhood. She was respected for her kindness, her wisdom, and her ability to listen without judgment. Her home, a small bungalow with green shutters, was often a refuge for troubled youth. She had weathered life's storms, segregation, discrimination, loss, but she had never complained. That evening, as she approached the corner of Elm Street, she felt a heavy gaze upon her. Officer Mark Daniels was there, stationed by his patrol car, his arms crossed. A white man in his 40s, Daniels had a reputation for being rude, arrogant, and harboring deep resentment against the city's black residents. Without warning, he advanced towards Rose, with heavy, threatening steps. "You have no business being here at this hour, Grandma. You've been hanging around too long." Rose looked up, surprised but calm. "I'm going home, Agent Daniels. I just went shopping." Daniels sneered, a harsh, cruel sound. "I'm not interested in your stories. I'll take you to the station to check your papers." Rose felt her heart sink. She knew this kind of behavior all too well. Without resistance, she held out her hands for him to rummage through her bags. But suddenly, with a sudden movement, Daniels violently grabbed her arm. Rose tried to pull away, but the grip was firm, almost brutal. "Don't move," he ordered, his voice hard. A group of passers-by began to gather, some whispering, others watching with growing concern. Rose, her dignity wounded, tried to speak. "Officer, I'm just asking you to let me go." But her words were lost in the tumult. Daniels, visibly exasperated, shoved her violently. Rose wobbled, lost her balance, and fell to her knees on the cold concrete. In a fit of irrational anger, Daniels raised his hand and struck her across the face. The blow echoed through the street. Rose, stunned, didn't scream. Her eyes filled with silent tears, but she remained dignified, panting. Around them, the murmurs turned to cries of outrage. Several witnesses took out their phones, some called the police. But Officer Daniels, confident in himself, seemed unaware of the seriousness of his actions. A few meters away, Mike Tyson strolled quietly down the street, enjoying a rare evening of freedom away from the spotlight and the ring. Retired for several years, he sought peace in this small town, far from the tumult of his past life. But the tranquility was suddenly shattered by cries of alarm. "Stop him! Leave her alone! Racist police!" Mike instinctively rushed toward the source of the voices, his quick footsteps echoing on the concrete. As he approached, he saw a scene that chilled him. An elderly black woman on the ground, visibly injured, and a police officer abusing her. His heart sank. He knew the pain of injustice all too well. Without thinking, he stepped between Daniels and Rose, his dark, determined eyes fixed on the policeman. "Let go of that woman now," Mike ordered firmly. Daniels turned around abruptly, surprised and disconcerted. He hadn't expected a confrontation, especially not with such an imposing figure. Mike Tyson, despite his years, was imposing by his stature and aura. "Who are you to tell me that?" Daniels retorted, anger rising in his voice. Mike took a step forward, without looking down. "I'm Mike Tyson, and I won't let anyone beat up a defenseless old lady." A tense silence fell. Around them, passers-by froze, captivated by this unexpected confrontation. Daniels, visibly embarrassed by Mike's presence, hesitated for a moment. But his pride prevented him from backing down completely. "It's for his own good," he stammered, trying to justify his actions. Mike looked him straight in the eyes, his voice deep. "Respect is something that should be given to everyone, not just to those who wear a badge." Then, calmly but authoritatively, he ordered, "Back up." Now, Daniels, sensing that the situation was getting out of hand, took a step back, still maintaining a furious look. Rose, still on her knees, looked at Mike with gratitude and emotion. This simple gesture of protection gave her back a little strength. The atmosphere around the scene had become electric. Passers-by, initially frozen, began to murmur, some taking out their phones to film. Mike Tyson, standing in front of Officer Daniels, now embodied a human barrier between justice and violence. Daniels clenched his fists, his face red with anger. He tried to regain control of the situation, his growling voice echoing through the street. "You think just because you're Mike Tyson you can tell me what to do? I'm a police officer, and I'm the one who calls the shots here." Mike shrugged, unfazed. "You're wrong, Daniels. Your badge doesn't give you the right to abuse people. You're supposed to protect and serve, not beat up innocent people." A murmur of approval rose from the gathered crowd, giving weight to his words. Daniels tried one last intimidation move, taking a step toward Mike. "You don't know what you're getting into. I can arrest you for obstruction." Mike didn't move an inch, his piercing gaze locked with Daniels's. "Try it. But I guarantee it'll be the last time you hit an old lady in this town." A heavy silence fell, charged with tension. Then, in a placating gesture, Mike gestured to the witnesses. "Film this all. The truth must come out." Several people pointed their phones at Daniels and Mike, recording every word, every gesture. Faced with this mounting pressure, Daniels stepped back, feeling his power crumble. He gave one last glare, then, without a word, climbed back into his patrol car. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers of support for Rose and Mike. Rose, still trembling, leaned gently against Mike. "Thank you. Thank you so much," she whispered, her eyes misty. Mike placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "This is just the beginning, Rose. We're going to make sure justice is done." News of Rose Jenkins's assault and Mike Tyson's intervention spread quickly throughout the Brookside neighborhood. This was no longer just a story between an old woman and a police officer. It had become a powerful symbol of the fight against injustice and systemic racism. In the hours that followed, Elm Street was the scene of a spontaneous rally. Neighbors, friends, local youth, and even passers-by from elsewhere gathered around Rose. They carried signs reading, "Justice for Rose," "Stop Police Brutality," and "Respect and Dignity for All." Around them, the air vibrated with a new energy, that of solidarity and collective anger. Chants rose up, voices united to demand change. Social media ignited. The video taken by a local youth had gone viral, viewed by thousands of people. Mike Tyson, a true pillar of this mobilization, kept repeating in his interviews and speeches, "It's not just Rose. It's every person who suffers silent injustice. We must stand up, together, to make it stop." Civil rights groups announced their support, and lawyers offered their services free of charge, ready to assist Rose in her efforts. In the midst of this storm, Rose felt a strength she thought she had lost reborn. Surrounded by love and support, she regained confidence. "I am not alone," she repeated, her voice trembling but resolute. That day, Brookside understood that the union of its inhabitants could bend even the thickest walls of injustice. In the days following the incident, Rose Jenkins was joined by a team of civil rights lawyers, ready to file a lawsuit against Officer Mark Daniels for abuse of power and violence. The lawsuit was not just a legal act. It was an act of courage, a cry for justice in a system often deaf to the voices of the most vulnerable. Mike Tyson remained at his side, becoming a powerful voice. In the media, he tirelessly denounced the systemic racism plaguing the police and called for sweeping reform. This is not a personal fight. It's a fight for an entire community, for an entire country, he repeated. Every blow to Rose is a blow to all of us. The investigation was opened, and media pressure forced local authorities to take the case seriously. The first hearings revealed damning testimonies from several witnesses present at the time of the attack. Daniels attempted to defend himself, claiming he acted to ensure public safety, but his troubled past, marked by several unresolved complaints, weighed heavily against him. The Brookside community galvanized, organized peaceful protests, demanding not only justice for Rose, but also systemic change in policing practices. At a public meeting, Rose spoke, her voice trembling but determined. "I am not a victim, I am a survivor. And I stand here, not only for myself, but for all those who do not yet have the strength to speak out." His courage inspired dozens of people to get involved, to bear witness, to no longer accept complicit silence. Mark Daniels' trial attracted national attention. The media went into overdrive, amplifying the debate over police brutality and the systemic racism that plagues so many American cities. For Rose Jenkins, the trial was more than a personal struggle. It was a fight for the dignity of an entire community. The hearings began in a packed courtroom, packed with journalists, activists, neighbors, and supporters. Rose testified with quiet strength, recounting that terrible day with precision and emotion. Her lawyer, Claire Simmons, a passionate and brilliant woman, highlighted the profound injustice represented by this violent act by an officer who was supposed to protect her. As the hearings progressed, shocking revelations emerged. Former colleagues of Daniels testified anonymously about the abusive and racist behavior they had observed. Videos, including those taken by witnesses, were presented, clearly exposing the officer's violence. Daniels tried to downplay his actions, but his arrogance shattered against Rose's determination and the community's solidarity. As he left the court, Mike Tyson told the press, "This case shows that we can no longer turn a blind eye. Justice must be for everyone, without exception. Rose is an example of courage and hope for us all." This case sparked a new dynamic in the town of Brookside. Authorities began reviewing police training protocols, and an oversight committee was established, including members of the community. After several weeks of intense hearings, the verdict was finally delivered. The jury found Mark Daniels guilty of abuse of power, willful violence, and discriminatory conduct. The sentence was exemplary: permanent suspension from his police post, heavy fines, and a suspended prison sentence with a requirement to attend training on civil rights and anti-discrimination. In the courtroom, a murmur of relief and satisfaction rippled through the audience. Rose, surrounded by her loved ones and Mike Tyson, felt a weight lifted from her shoulders. This was not only a personal victory, but a powerful signal to the entire community. Injustice would not go unpunished. The prosecutor said, "This judgment is a step towards a fairer system, where every citizen, regardless of skin color, can hope to be treated with dignity and respect." Daniels, for his part, left the court with a closed face, aware that his career was over and that his actions had left an indelible mark. A few months after the trial, Brookside had changed. Under popular pressure and thanks to the commitment of residents, the local police had adopted new practices, including mandatory training in cultural sensitivity and human rights. A citizens' oversight committee, including Rose herself, was created to ensure ongoing dialogue between the police and the community. Rose continued her role as a pillar of the neighborhood, stronger and more respected than ever. Her story, carried by Mike Tyson and relayed by the media, became a symbol of hope in the fight against discrimination. Mike, for his part, continued his public engagement, using his fame to champion social causes and promote justice. One evening, as Rose watched the sunset from her porch, she whispered, This fight is far from over, but today we have won a battle. And it is together, with courage and solidarity, that we will build a better future.